Alrighty, well, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Born to Prosper. This is episode number 2. We're going to be talking about the gratitude and how to transform your life with gratitude. So episode number 2 of Born to Prosper, we're going to be talking about gratitude, the brain science of gratitude, what gratitude actually is, how to apply gratitude to your life to totally transform really any area that you might be looking to get better results in, and a few other things as well. So allow me to bring out our main host of the show, the Born to Prosper show, Mr. Shane Krider. Come on out, Shane. Come on out, Shane.
All right, I am here.
My goodness.
My goodness.
Talk about put
Talk
me in the
about a
hot
delay.
seat. I tell you what, he's like, you know what? I'll be back in a minute. And this was like right when we started. And I'm like, oh my gosh, okay.
I had to get dressed and I had to fix my hair.
Talk about, okay, you know what? I'm sweaty underneath my arms now. So I'm just going to sit here and hopefully look good after that fabulous start. Thanks, guys. Love you.
Very cool. Very, very excited to be here.
You know what? I got to say just one thing. I am so grateful that you came back and didn't leave me sitting here in the hot seat all by my lonesome, because that just would have been
I'm out of here.
A moment of like an old, can I say an old shit moment?
Yeah, something like that.
All right.
I don't know what the terms of use on YouTube are. You might have just got us bumped off the channel.
Anyway, the floor is yours, Mr. Krider.
So excited to be here. And as you can see, the name of this show is it's episode number 2. It's gratitude. It's the key to unlock your hidden potential. And, I've been learning, gratitude's been a main theme in my life since about 1998 when I got started in personal development. And, the older I get and the farther I go and the more success I have, the more I see that it's an absolute key to success in life beyond what we can possibly think of. I've had big ups and I've had some challenges along the way, and every single time gratitude ends up playing a massive role in getting on track here. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to be talking about gratitude. Let me just say this before we get started. I'm excited about this, and I'm excited about personal development because I've used it to absolutely transform my life. And oops, sorry, I just put Rach back on the screen.
Lucky I wasn't doing anything untoward at that moment, right?
I use gratitude, or I use personal development, absolutely changed my life. In 1998, I was a mechanic. I was installing car stereos for a living. I was actually a mechanic before that. Any self-respecting mechanic would probably say a car stereo installer is far from a mechanic. However, I will tell you there's a little bit more to it than one might think. But I was broke, I was struggling, and my life just wasn't really going where I wanted to go. I was working 80 hours a week, and I was stressed out. I was overweight. I wasn't seeing my family, and I was falling behind on my bills. My finances were a mess, and I was always having to do like side jobs and extra jobs and all that. So my 80 hours a week ended up being more like 100 hours a week. And to top it all off, I had a boss who just made my life a living heck. I don't know if at this point in my life, I don't know if it's because of him or because of me or a combination of the both of us.
Combination, no doubt. Huh?
Yeah, probably a bit of a combination. I'll take a little bit of responsibility there. But I do think he enjoyed making me suffer just a little bit. I wonder if you guys have ever had a boss that you just suspect gets a little bit of pleasure and enjoyment about making you suffer. I had one of those. And I was 26, and I realized that if I continue on this path till I'm 46, I'm going to be a grumpy, angry, middle-aged guy. And of course, I thought when I was 26 that 46 was old. So I thought I was going to be a grumpy old guy. Now that I'm 45,
Are you 45?
I'm 45.
My goodness. You know what? Happy Easter, everybody. It's Good Friday here in Chile, and I know down under for a lot of our Aussie friends.
I think it's Good Friday all around the world.
hang
Well,
on a
I guess in on the other side of the planet, they're a bit ahead of us. It's Saturday.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's Saturday. So you guys had your Good Friday yesterday, and the Easter Bunny comes Sunday here. I think he comes Sunday for all you guys too. So, anyways, wherever you happen to be, I hope you're enjoying this long weekend holiday.
All right. Well, thanks for that, Rach. What was I talking about?
I don't know.
So anyways, I'm passionate about personal development because when I found personal development, I met a couple of people and they suggested I start reading some books. I got started in a business and they said the business could change your life, but what's really going to change your life is changing the way you think about everything. And here's some books that you need to read. And I read, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey, and pretty much anything from Jim Rohn or Bob Proctor, or you name it. And I'll tell you what, the first time in my life, I had somebody telling me that I could be as successful as I wanted to be. And really, what it's all about, it's not about where you start, and it's not about what your education was, and it's not about, your experience in life so far. It's about the thoughts that you hold in your mind most of the time, and the goals that you really decide to serve and really go for in your life. And there's really nothing that can hold you back. First time in my life I'd heard that message, and it came from people that I felt were credible, and it set me free. I went from this. I know for a lot of you guys, the money is an inconsequential thing, but I like to nail it down to things that you can actually measure, because so many times you're hearing about personal development. It's like, well, how tangible is that really? Well, losing the weight's definitely tangible. Getting in peak physical condition is definitely tangible. And putting more money in your bank account is tangible too. And that's very real if you've been in a place where you don't have enough money to get by. So I went from making about $35,000 a year, working all those chaotic hours, to about $50,000 a month net profit within about 6 months. And I'll tell you guys what, a business model vehicle had something to do with it. I certainly couldn't have done that in the car stereo job, but I never would have looked outside of that job. I never would have had the courage to really do what I did had I not started to change my mindset. And it really was changing my thinking that allowed me to create that higher level of success. And I took that level of success way beyond that. And I've done a lot of cool things in my life with these principles. And I think it's something that everybody deserves to know about. And I'm excited to share it. Since then, I've just been excited to share this stuff with anybody I can. So obviously that brings us to where we're at today. But today we are talking about gratitude. I want to share some things with you guys. Well, first of all, let's see here.
I'm excited to learn about the brain science of gratitude, because I think if you understand it on that more mechanical side, it can just make it a little bit more real. Particularly if you're kind of that way inclined. But anyway, I'm excited to be here today.
Very cool. Very cool. And so here we go. Here's where I want to start with this. There was a great article written by this online blogger, and the blog is Be Brain Fit. I read through it, pretty cool. Seems like these people are up to some pretty cool stuff. This blog was written by, what is that, Deanne Albin?
Mm-hmm.
Albin? Sorry at the end if you're listening to this, if I'm not pronouncing your name correctly. I'm the worst with names. It's a positive affirmation about how bad I am with names. So, but one of my guidelines of personal development is not a pursuit of perfection. And you guys will definitely see that as this all plays out. But it is a pursuit of getting the results and creating the life that you want, as imperfect as we can possibly be. So there's a great article in it, and it's 12 effects of chronic stress on the brain. Why are we talking about chronic stress when we're talking about gratitude? Well, here's why. It's very simple. Chronic stress, in my opinion, and hopefully as this episode unfolds, you guys will see for yourself, chronic stress is the result of lack of gratitude. And gratitude, maybe it's not a result of lack of gratitude, but you can definitely use gratitude as a tool to change that chronic stress into something completely different. And I think it's important to understand the 12 effects of chronic stress. Rach, did you have those down there anywhere? Let me do this. I guess just to frame this up, Rach is going to look for that. But basically, here's my take on gratitude. And the reason I bring up this article is because I'm going to talk about a lot of things. I'm sure some of you guys can be like, well, how real is that? Well, this article was very well documented, and it covers a lot of things I'm going to be talking about. And if you want to look for some hardcore, substantiated medical science facts about this stuff, that article is a great shortcut for you guys to be able to feed your mind and find anything that you want on that. So here's some interesting things about gratitude. Oh, great. Rach has that up. So, Rach, you want to just go through that real quick just to satisfy everybody's curiosity on those 12 effects?
So just basically rattle off the actual, okay, cool. So number 1 is stress creates free radicals that kill brain cells. Number 2, chronic stress makes you forgetful and emotional. Number 3, stress creates a vicious cycle of fear and anxiety. Number 4, stress hates the production of new brain cells. Halts. I haven't got my glasses on. Stress halts the production of new brain cells. And he's probably going, you know what, that's massive font. How can you not read that? But anyway, number 5, stress depletes critical brain chemicals causing depression. And I didn't actually realize I'd be reading these out. So he has put me on the spot here. Stress puts you at greater risk for mental illness of all kinds. Number 7, stress makes you stupid. So maybe I'm really stressed out right now. Anyway,
that's actually what it says. Stress. That's why I love that article. Stress makes you stupid.
Yeah, I feel like I'm under pressure. Anyway, I want to be in control of these little buttons, by the way, on the next one, so that Anyway, number 8, chronic stress shrinks your brain. Number 9, stress lets toxins into your brain. Number 10, chronic stress increases your risk of dementia and Alzheimer's. Number 11, stress causes brain cells to commit suicide, which is fascinating to me. And number 12, chronic stress contributes to brain inflammation and depression.
All right. So let me just share with you guys a couple of things about, I guess this is, I'm going to get ahead of myself. I know I'm going to get ahead of myself, and I put some things in here to not allow myself. Let me ask you guys a question before we get started. Here's a question when it comes to gratitude. Can you guys remember, and Rach, can you remember when you were a little kid and you received something that you really wanted, maybe for Christmas, maybe for a gift, maybe for a birthday present? You were so psyched, you wanted it so bad, you didn't think you were going to get it, but it actually showed up. Do you remember how psyched you ever were to receive something?
The thing that comes to mind for me was a red BMX bike that I got when I was a little kid. So I can totally remember that was where the picture that I had as soon as you started talking was that red BMX bike, and I used to tear up around the neighborhood on it.
Yeah, little Leia, we've got a almost 5-year-old, and I've got 2 bigger kids, a 20-year-old, almost 21 this month.
Wow.
And a 15-year-old. Wow, I've got them all over the map.
Yep.
I've seen plenty of kids totally in a state of unbelievable gratitude in my life. And I've been one of those kids. I got a little red BMX bike as a JMC racer. And it was awesome all the way up until the point it got stolen.
Mine got stolen
great.
too, huh? That's a classic. I wasn't going to mention that because then I'm like, maybe I wasn't grateful for it after all, given that it got stolen. But I was in the moment.
Yeah.
It left. And that red BMX turned pink because it was in the sun, the Aussie sun, so much. It went from red to pink. But anyway, whole other story. Keep going, Krider.
Okay. Well, thanks for the permission there. So first of all, what is gratitude? Rach, do you have a definition of gratitude there? Or you just want to pull something out of your mind? For me, what gratitude is it's the ability to be thankful and to acknowledge receiving a benefit of some kind.
Yes. Yeah.
And so what's the real definition?
The real definition, you're very close from the dictionary here. The quality of being grateful, readiness to show appreciation for and to return kindness.
So here's the thing. What is gratitude? Gratitude is that is that ability to be thankful. See, and I'm going to get ahead of myself. It's going to be very difficult to not get ahead of myself with this. As this builds out, and at the end of this, we're going to give you guys a direct formula, something that a little PDF you could actually download, or you can just copy it off of things. And it's a simple 3-step formula to really empower yourself with gratitude. And as this unfolds, hopefully you guys really see how much this can change your life and what a valuable thing it is. I know a lot of people talk about gratitude, and it's a very popular thing about talking about it. The reason why I've created success in my life and joy and happiness and all this stuff is because I do more than talk about it. I've actually created certain practices in my life, and I'm very excited to share one of these practices with you at the end of this thing here. So that's what gratitude is. So what can gratitude bring about in your life? Like if you actually create a gratitude practice, what types of things can gratitude really bring about?
Well, really anything that you're looking to bring about in terms of greater levels of, success, more fulfilling friendships, relationships. It can open up the space to have a deeper level of connectedness, with your loved ones, your family, your friends. It allows the space, I guess, for strangers also to connect, because of course you can be expressing your gratitude just as a natural course of going about your day. And it can bring about more of everything that you want to create in your life. Better health, just a calmer sense of being and happiness.
Yeah, that all sounds good. I've got a few more here, a couple things that I just have down. I took a note here earlier today. One of the things gratitude can bring about is space for acceptance. We always hear about there's all kinds of crazy things out there in the world. People are so angry at each other, and people don't accept each other because we're different than each other, which is what makes us beautiful. But it can be intimidating and threatening and all that stuff. And we've traveled around a lot, Rach, and sometimes you travel around and you see people that are different. You're in a different culture, and it can kind of put you back and put your guard up. But if you can really get into the state of gratitude, it brings about a space for accepting others or accepting things that are happening around you. I'm talking about positive acceptance. I'm not talking about accepting something that maybe you shouldn't be willing to accept. I'm talking about just a space to accept people that are a little bit different than us, or situations that, really don't have any impact. I think about a new employee getting started with a job, and the people that they're getting started to work with might not be really accepting of them. But if you demonstrate a little bit of gratitude in those people's direction, they'll find it a lot easier to give you a little bit of acceptance. So, and you know what? And you'll find it easier to accept them too, because when you acknowledge something positive about them, it's going to be a beautiful thing. Also, understanding, it's easier to understand where somebody else is coming from. If you've got a little bit of gratitude, your mind is open a little bit. You're not such in a defensive state, posture, fight or flight posture. You're open, you're looking, you're curious. If you don't have any gratitude with the situation you're in, the people that you're around, your curiosity level is going to be down, and you're just not going to really understand them very well. It also creates a space for forgiveness. You know what? If you have a hard time forgiving yourself or somebody else, you can practice a little bit of gratitude, and you'll find that you're going to find more space for real forgiveness. Not that superficial stuff that we tend to pass around. I'm talking real forgiveness, where you truly cut the cord and let go of that burden.
The way I got deep on that, Shane, was writing a letter. I was struggling to forgive somebody in my life where I felt that they'd wronged me, and I'd certainly wronged them too, but it'd become a thing in my mind. And I knew that I hadn't gotten on the other side of it completely, and I knew that it was causing illness within my body, within my life. So
Live, I think. So great. I'm very grateful for a lot of things right now. I'm just thinking about this. Don't get frustrated, get grateful. I'm grateful that there is something called the internet, even if it's not working great for us right at this exact second. I'm grateful for this technology because we can broadcast to people all around the world, even if in this exact moment it's not working as well as it possibly could be. Just reminding myself of all the things I'm grateful for, so I don't, have my head explode here while I'm on the line with you guys talking about how wonderful gratitude is. It's like, remember that video we watched online, and that guy's talking about gratitude, and he had some technical issues and his head exploded?
like literally right there,
exploded. Where was that guy's gratitude at? So gratitude's opposite. It's ingratitude, right? And it can be like a drug. The movie What the Bleep Do We Know is, it explained exactly in great detail. And if you guys haven't watched this movie, I highly recommend it. What the Bleep Do We Know? It came out, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago. And it talked about how our bodies, we get addicted to stress hormones, and we get addicted literally to emotions. And once we're addicted to the emotion, without even realizing it, subconsciously we'll seek out creating that emotion. Those negative emotions are all the fight or flight emotions, anger and fear and anxiety and all. We get literally addicted to these things. And we literally get addicted to ingratitude. Try that one on. If you get nothing else out of this whole video, try on being addicted to ingratitude and what that might look like. You're back on the air, Rachel.
Okay,
just kicked you online there.
We were offline for a little bit there. Ingratitude is the opposite to gratitude, just to be clear on that. In case you're not understanding his like American accent or whatever. Back to you, Krider. Because seriously, sometimes I have trouble.
Yeah. Anyways, I've got the floor now. So let's move on. I'm gonna get a smack here in a minute. You're gonna see some wild gratitude coming from the left side of me here. If you see a hand just fly out, you know what that is. So in gratitude. So the brain science. I've been dying to get to this. The brain science of gratitude. Just take a moment here. Brain science of gratitude. I love this because when I learned this, a lot of light bulbs went on my head. I'm like, no wonder. You guys ever learn something and after you're just like, no wonder. I'm sure when Edison, was it Edison that invented the light bulb? Mm-hmm. Sure, when Edison invented the light bulb and finally made it work, he probably just had one of those moments where he's like, he figured something out and he's like, no wonder. 10,000 tries and it's just been this thing. How could that be? That's how this brain science of gratitude is. When you get into a stressful state, there's two kinds of stress. One kind of stress is you're pumped to achieve an outcome and you are driven, pumped, excited, and you believe you have some hope that you can actually do it. The other type of stress is that you become hopeless. Something has cut off your ability to create an outcome. And that can be very dangerous for you in your life. I mean, like a person in their job all of a sudden feels like they don't have the ability to control whether they're employed or not, right? And it can become very scary what's going on, and it feels like it's outside of your hands, and that becomes a chronic stress that just eats at your soul, and you can handle it for a while, but after a while, it starts to eat you up inside. And a lot of people have experienced that. You hear about the downsizing, you're watching the news. You know, it can be a real scary world out there. So the brain science of gratitude, here's the way it works. If you become stressed out, the blood flow in your brain actually changes. You actually go from having nice, healthy blood flow throughout the brain and a lot of blood flowing to the front of the brain. It's where you do your higher reasoning. It's where it means that you can put yourself in somebody's shoes. You can kind of know what somebody's feeling or thinking just by being with them. I've seen a lot of people that their empathy goes completely out the window. They have no idea. Like they're in a communication with somebody and the person is like very accommodating, but they take it as if the person is they misunderstand the person, and they're because the empathy is gone. It's because they're in a fight or flight mode, and when you become stressed out, the blood stops flowing to the front of the brain. Well, that blood has to go somewhere. Your brain actually diverts the majority of the blood supply to the old brain, the center brain, the lizard brain, the just fight or flight. Like it doesn't operate on reason or on empathy. It operates on just, fight or flight. Like I either need to kill the thing that's in front of me or I need to run as fast as that it will take you out of fight or flight mode. Any ideas?
Well, you can't focus on two things at the same time. So if you're shifting your focus from whatever may be troubling you to one of what you're appreciative of, then you're focusing on,
That is exactly right. And guys, this takes discipline and it takes practice. It's why it's a practice. At the first time you do it, you're going to be weak. Maybe you'd be strong because you've been doing it. But if you haven't been doing it, you might be weak. First time you go to the gym and you go to lift those weights, it's not a good feeling. But you know what? Fast forward 6 months or a year, you go into those weights, you're throwing them around. You feel like maybe exactly the same way.
Yeah, I was thinking about gratitude today. We're feeling good, you're looking good, you're more attractive. And I don't mean in the physical sense. It's just that you're more attractive to, your fellow humans when you're vibrating at that level. And you're less dangerous, if you will.
I would absolutely agree with that. And I will tell you what, I think you get physically much more attractive. Literally, you could take a person that hasn't been practicing gratitude, put them in front of a group of people and have them judge their physical looks, and then have them practice gratitude for 6 months. And next thing you know, put them in front of the same group of people and be like, that ain't the same person.
Well, their phone is ringing off the hook.
That's right. They're all of a sudden popular.
Yeah.
What happened?
Yeah.
What happened?
Yeah.
I'm telling you, ingratitude is a drug, and it's probably one of the most dangerous, nastiest drugs out there.
And you know what? I got to say, when I did start this practice in the morning and the evening of expressing my gratitude at first, because I was in a pretty dark place when I bumped into these people who were fully outflowing gratitude. I wasn't in the most prosperous, happiest place in my life. But I'm like, you know what? There's got to be something to it because these guys keep going on and on about it. And I'd learned about it years earlier. I just kind of lost touch with it, if you will. And like I was saying, it didn't feel natural to be applying gratitude and outflowing gratitude. And at first, I had this attitude of, you know what, I got nothing to be grateful for. Look at my life. I'm this, I'm that. I lost my house. I lost my car. I'm, getting around town on this $500 scooter. My friends, blah, 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 blah. It was poor me, poor me. But I started practicing. And I mean, before long, Shane, not long, like a week in, I started, I guess I had that shift of, gosh, I'm such an ingrate. I've got so much to be grateful for. I mean, I get to get up every morning and have a hot shower. And by golly, I mean, there's people in the world that don't even get to get up and have a cold shower, a cold glass of water, let alone a shower, right? So I went back to the core basics of things that I was grateful for. And I had so many things to be grateful for with my family and my friends. And I mean, I was living in Australia at the time, land of the free, right? I mean, just amazing. So.
All right. Well, we've got a little bit to get here, and I can relate to everything that you're saying.
Talking.
So, no, don't stop. I'm just saying, let's talk about new stuff. I love this concept, and you guys will see more and more why as we go through here. There's a bit to it if you really understand it, and this next part I find very, very interesting. Check this out. Some of the benefits of gratitude, like real, tangible, like measurable benefits from a spiritual, psychological standpoint. Check this out. If you're in a place where you're in fight or flight, you don't have correct perception of the context of the situation. Once you're in fear, you're afraid. And that's the context, is that you're in danger. And I've seen plenty of situations pan out in life where somebody was out of their mind afraid and could not get over the fear, even though there was really literally nothing to fear. I work with a lot of entrepreneurs, and a lot of entrepreneurs, when it comes to being in business, have a fear that they just can't get around. And gratitude's a great tool to get around it. But the context of your situation, it goes out the window when your gratitude is low. When you really work on this and you have some aha moments and you start building up those gratitude muscles and you can stay focused on it, you'll be able to perceive the context of your situation a lot more accurately, and it's not going to seem nearly as negative or dangerous as you might think it is. There's people walking around that feel like they are on the edge of survival every day, and they don't take steps to change that because they're too afraid to do something any different. They're just doing the only thing that they know how to do. And I think we all are on that plane, playing together to some degree. I think life can change really quickly. In fact, I know it can because I've changed my life very quickly, and I've helped a lot of other people do the same thing. So the context, we got to be able to change that context to get out of the fear. Here's an interesting thought. Imagine this. Imagine, Rach, that you're sitting here all stressed out and you think, I have nothing to be grateful for, right? And this is what you're thinking. Now imagine the next second, we're here in Chile, land of the earthquakes. Imagine a big earthquake hits, the ceiling falls in on you, and there's a big piece of the ceiling laying on your chest, and you literally can't take a breath. There's really nothing else wrong with you, but you just can't take the smallest breath of air. How much do you want that little bit of oxygen? I mean, seriously, like how much is that next little breath worth to you when you're just right there at the end of your rope?
Yeah, it's worth everything, right?
I mean, you'd trade everything you have in a second, everything you thought you might ever want. I mean, all of a sudden, your perception, you get that air into your lungs, you are grateful for that air. Mm-hmm. And somebody might say, well, yeah, but I feel like, I should have this and I should have this. And it's entitlement mentality. Mm-hmm. Entitlement mentality to me is synonymous with ingratitude. I learned a great thing, and I can't remember where I found this from, but it said, it was talking about human rights, and it said nothing can be a human right that requires the work and labor of another human being, because it will turn the human beings who can perform that into a slave to the human beings who can't. And even though we would like to believe that certain things should be a human right, if it takes the work and labor of other people, it really isn't a human right, because now we have people that owe their work, their labor to somebody else, regardless of the ability to be compensated. Now, granted, in that same breath, you got to look at the concept of charity and the importance of charity with that, because I would hate to live in a world that there was no charity.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I feel like I've been on the receiving end of charity more than once in my life, and probably undeserving of it as much as anybody could be. But it's amazing when you receive that little bit of charity. And I think if your heart's in the right place, even if it's in the wrong place, it can help you shift it into the right place. So I'm not saying that we shouldn't be charity driven as people, but this whole concept of entitlement and being owed, and people going through school to get out, they've got a degree and they can't get a job. So they're underemployed. They don't think about becoming that entrepreneur. They don't think about taking the bull by the horns, and they get pissed off at society because it didn't, what they thought was going to happen didn't happen. Mm-hmm. But it's learned entitlement mentality at that. And, I think that that's too bad.
See, I'd been there. And in fact, it was precisely gratitude that popped me out of that. Like, I was in this big poor me kind of place, if you will, all self-created, all through decisions that I'd made, or perhaps actions I hadn't have taken, and this, that, and the other. But I did pop out of it. And once I'd popped out of it, very quickly on the other side of that was a lot of success, financial and otherwise, health success, financial success, success in relationships, all popped out the other side.
Beautiful, beautiful. And, your results in life are way beyond the average. Became, well, I guess from a time you're at a very low in your life and started practicing this, you ended up finding, you're at the low on your finances, on your health, on your relationships. And within about a 1.5 year period of time of starting to practice this, you turned them all around, except for maybe the relationship side.
That took a little bit longer.
I had to
really.
But you became a self-made millionaire in that time frame.
Yep.
But it's because you found a business, because you're able to open your mind. And it's that context. You're able to be able to judge and see accurately. So many people are just stuck in fear. They want to make a change, but they're just too afraid. They can't figure their way. They can't tell whether it's good or bad, or they should or they shouldn't. How many people get stuck? They call it being stuck in the analysis of paralysis. This is being stuck in fight or flight. The way out of fight or flight, one way out for sure, is to create a gratitude practice. And if you really do it, you will get out of fight or flight. The blood will flow in your brain, and you will see things and understand things on a completely different level. Rach, have you ever been just completely angry and blind angry? Right?
Yeah.
No matter what somebody tries to have a conversation with you about why you're angry, what's going to be the outcome of that conversation?
No, not good. And you know what? Once you've calmed down, you'll have regrets, right? Always.
Well, that's the higher perception. All of a sudden, you can see the greater context, and you're like, oh, I'm an idiot. What's wrong with me?
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many of those moments I've had in my life. It's like, give me a break. And it's embarrassing and it's humbling. But a little bit of gratitude can keep you out of those situations, or if you do get into them, it can really help you get through it. So let me just kind of blast through some of these other things. Subliminal threshold. We've all got a threshold of conscious awareness, and there's things that have a subliminal impact on us, and they have an impact and they trigger us, but it's below our level of conscious awareness. We're not aware that we were triggered. A lot of advertising operates on this. And but this subliminal threshold, what you are consciously aware of or not, is a movable threshold, and a lot has to do with the fight or flight situation and the blood flow of the mind. And as you become grateful, you don't feel like you're in so much danger, and the blood starts to flow differently. And you can see your perception improves, and you can really see that maybe there's something going on, but there's plenty of things that you can do about it, plenty of directions you can go. You feel like you can create a better outcome. You start trusting your own ability to create, right?
Well, and see, it's the people around you also don't perceive you as dangerous. So all of a sudden you're opening up more opportunities through assistance from others because you're not a threat to them just by expressing your gratitude. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's like the law of attraction right there, which we talked about last week. Check it out. if you haven't checked it out. But you raise your vibration literally, and you know what? People are going to be less afraid of you. They're going to be more willing to smile at you. They're going to be more willing to give you an opportunity. They're going to be more willing to listen to you. They're going to be able to understand you better because of all the things that we're talking about here. And if you guys have to go back through and watch this particular episode a couple of times, it's worth doing it. Take some notes, write this stuff down. We're going to give you guys a practice at the end of this that can utterly transform your life. It's 3 easy, simple steps that are so grounded, so easy, so basic. Total transformative power. I've transformed my life, and nothing I've done has been difficult. So the next thing here is, change your subliminal threshold. Become aware of what's triggering you and what's not. That's a very powerful thing. You trying to diet? You trying to lose some weight? You get those little triggers that make you want to eat? What about that? I mean, that's a big one for me. Imagine if once you're consciously aware of the triggers, they no longer have power with you the way they did. And all of a sudden you'll feel like, wow, I have willpower. All of a sudden, where'd that come from? Just your awareness in general will increase, like your circle, your bubble of awareness. When you start coming out of fight or flight and you start feeling that gratitude, you start feeling and having a little bit of empathy. You start to understand what's happening around you. You're less stressed out. It's like an upward spiral starts to take place. And literally you become aware of more things that are in your environment that could be either positive or negative. The negative ones, you become aware of them well before they can impact you. The positive things, you know what? These are things that you might have walked right by before, but didn't, right? I mean, a couple things come up real powerful in my life on that. Things I would have just, if I was in a different state of mind, I would have passed them by in a heartbeat, and they've been everything to me. So your bubble of awareness absolutely expands by practicing gratitude. We talked about empathy. And that's just the ability to understand the other person.
Put yourself in their shoes.
Yeah,
right?
Put yourself in their shoes. And that's a massive benefit. Strategy, to actually strategize your way to solving a problem. Some people just can't solve problems. I've been in that situation. You just can't solve the problems. But you know what? You got to open up. And again, it's the mind, it's the brain, it's the blood flow. I mean, that is the critical thing. Your ability to do mental experiments. Einstein said that all the stuff that he figured out, a big part of it came from his ability to do mental experiments. I mean, how awesome is that? He could do a mental experiment and then he could test it in real life, and it was pretty much the same outcome. See, that's correct contextual perception. He's able to correctly perceive the way the world works, and he was able to create an experiment in his mind, and it panned out. See, but if you're in fight or flight, and when you're angry, that's fight or flight. When you're afraid, that's fight or flight. When you're anxious, that's fight or flight. You deserve to operate in a higher level than that. Now, you can feel intensity, which people mistake for anxiety. Like I was feeling a little bit of intensity trying to get this technology to work right before we got on this thing.
See, I was feeling a little intensity when you're like, I'll be back in a minute. I'm like, in a minute? What?
But I am so on purpose that it forces me to keep the blood flowing to the front of my brain, keep problem solving, keep on purpose.
Yep.
And it's not the most comfortable thing in the world, right? But you get through it on the other side and you get a positive outcome. So, sorry, Rachel, I cut you off.
That's okay.
So mental experiments, creativity, that helps a lot with problem solving. Compassion, you actually have compassion for other people. Like I've had people, just because of the situation they're in and the way they're reacting to that situation, now all of a sudden I'm in that situation with them and they start treating me in a way I don't believe I deserve to be treated. And to be able to approach that with compassion. See, the go-to is to get in fight or flight yourself. But when you can confront the anger and the frustration of another person with curiosity and compassion and just nothing but a true desire to help, and your ego doesn't get inflamed where you start going on the defensive, right? Mm-hmm. Man, that can wake that person up on a level that you just can't believe. I've literally had somebody start crying, big tough person, just start crying like wow, you're listening to me and I think you want to help. It's like, yeah, I am, and I do. I mean, at least to some degree. maybe not for the rest of our lives, but we're in a situation. Let's figure it out. Let's see what's going on. And not to take that personally is a massive thing, but this comes from not getting triggered into fight or flight. If you're not doing a gratitude practice, even if you're pretty happy most of the time, things will trigger you. And you'll find that you'll go to that place instantly. Mm-hmm. And the older you get, the more that seems to happen to us. But you got to reverse that. And this is something, and the reason why we're doing a whole hour long thing today on it. We'll be lucky. The hour. Let's try and crank it up here. Is because of how important this really is. I mean, I want you guys to do the practice, and I don't want you to do the practice half-heartedly. I want you to really go for it. Courage comes from this. Courage comes from being able to keep enough blood flowing to the front of your brain through stressful moments that you still manage to make the right decisions even though you're afraid. That is where courage comes from. This is a blood flow thing more than anything, but it's also discipline on your perception. When you get in a habit of looking at the negative, you're in fight or flight all the time, and you're feeding off of those chemicals, and literally endorphins are flying in your brain that you become addicted to because of that. When you switch it up, it's a different thing. And courage is a byproduct of that. Honesty. I don't think there's dishonest people. I think some people just get so freaked out and so overwhelmed that they really feel like they have no other alternative than to be dishonest. Perception, and we talked about that, just more correct perception of the context of the situation. So, and here's the thing. Let's see what we have next here on this little, the long-term impact of all this. Rach, what's the long-term impact if you really manage to get this gratitude? I mean, what improved in your life since you're able to start actually getting onto the path and doing some of this?
Everything.
Yeah.
Everything. Your health improves. You don't age as much, as you were before when you're ungrateful. So the lines, Botox helps with that too. Let's be honest now. But anyways.
Let's be grateful for Botox. I'm not a Botox person. See? Look, I can move my eyebrows.
Yeah. I'm well overdue. But anyway, the universe loves gratitude. And I learned this all those years ago from Louise Hay. And so if you're expressing gratitude for things that you're grateful for in your life, it's going to deliver more of those things. So more to be grateful for at the end of the day. So yeah, if you're grateful for your health and grateful to be in this body one more day, to be living on this planet at this time in this life with you guys, you're going to experience more of that. So, it gives you more of everything that you're grateful for.
I'll have more of that.
Yeah.
Please.
All day long.
And I'm thankful for it. And I've had near-death experiences in my life, and I'll tell you what, every day I wake up and I'm alive.
Yeah. I'm
so damn happy. I mean, I think we all deserve to have a near-death experience from time to time in our life just to remind us. Mm-hmm. And in our lives that we live, we don't. I mean, we really don't have those experiences, and we forget, and we take it for granted. It's the worst thing. It's taking it for granted is like entitlement mentality. We just feel that we're owed and we're deserved. You know what? Billions of people have lived and died, and so are we, and we better be grateful for the days we have because
absolutely,
it's what it's all about.
And when it comes down to it, when you start your practice of gratitude, and you'll find, no doubt, like I did, that you're grateful for the little things. I mean, yeah, you're grateful to create the success and have some financial abundance, but at the very core of it, it comes back to your health, to being happy with the actions that you took that day and the impact that you had on those around you. Did you make their life just a little bit better because you showed up on the phone? Or your parents, and my parents too, I started sending them, so we do a lot of travel all around the world, and so they're not really connected on a day-to-day basis with Leia. And they're not on Facebook. Well, my mom is now on Facebook very, very recently. So I started sending them these little postcards of Leia. And your parents, again on the phone the other day, were talking about just expressing their gratitude for these little postcards that show up in the mail. And it takes 2 seconds. Like they're not like the postcards that you buy. It's like a shot of Leia, and you load it up online, and boom, I don't even have to go to the post office. It all happens. And there's a few different apps out there that do this these days. But just little things. So it's the stuff, the small things to be grateful for that make a big difference in one's life. Back to you.
Absolutely. No, that's it. And those little postcards, what a difference those make in somebody's life. Just receiving something like that unexpectedly, especially.
They love them. Yeah.
So,
and I love sending them. It makes so here's gratitude is actually a very selfish thing. You send the postcard because you think it's going to just make their day, but at the end of the day, I think you get more happiness out of their happiness. You know what I mean? So it's like, anyway, it's like a good deed. There are no, who I can't remember what I know what I'm talking about. There are no good deeds. Anyway, whatever. You go.
No good deed goes unpunished.
Someone is tracking along
That's
here
what
with
that,
me.
that's what it is. No good deed goes unpunished. But you know what? That's a pessimistic way to look at it. Where's the gratitude with that? Because you know what? That's not true. Sometimes it seems to be
That's not
true.
where I was going with that.
But that's the saying that comes up to mind for me in that. So, health, wealth, and happiness, right? It's gratitude. Those are a byproduct of long-term gratitude. And quite frankly, I was not a grateful person in my life, and I felt like I was owed so many things. So let's talk about how to create gratitude. Now, I've got this little thing here that I'm trying to get on the screen here to show you guys. And let's see how to create gratitude. I've got this is my checklist that I want to show you guys. So Rach, I'm going to turn it over to you.
What the?
You're on.
I'm back. Okay, so maybe some little practices while he's getting the slides organized that one could do to, outflow gratitude. So my little way is the postcards. So you could send cards or postcards. What was that?
Don't worry about what that was.
You could simply just pick up the phone and express your gratitude openly to the people who have impacted your life. And it could be the smallest little thing.
Here's a nice little gratitude quote that's partially covering you up. If you move to the right just a little bit there. There it is.
One of my girlfriends.
Cicero. He talked about gratitude like 2,000 years ago. He was a pretty cool guy. Who else has talked about gratitude, Rach? Let's see. There's some other people here that have talked about gratitude. Deepak Chopra, he talks about gratitude. He's a pretty smart guy. Deepak's another one. From the beginning, I started listening to and watching. I don't know why I'm leaving you on the screen there.
That's okay.
I'll switch it over. Yeah. Hey, guys. Switch it over to me. I feel like I've got the master controls. I just need to get better at using these damn things.
I had an itchy nose.
The book or the movie, The Secret. You're off. The book or the movie, The Secret, talks about gratitude. And Oprah talks about gratitude. She's pretty successful. John F. Kennedy, he did some pretty cool things, I think. I wasn't really around back then. But, he inspired a lot of different things to take place in our world. And if you don't know anything about that, you might look him up. But he talked a lot about gratitude. And in fact, every great leader of people, I think, since pretty much the beginning, have said a lot about gratitude. But go back to Cicero, he said that gratitude is like, I'm paraphrasing here, but it's like the absolute parent value. It is the peak, pinnacle, core value that everything else is built on. It starts and it ends with gratitude. And I'll tell you what, when you start practicing gratitude, all these things that you're probably trying to do better and failing, like being nicer to people, being nicer to your spouse, being more thoughtful, being more creative, spending more time, all this stuff, being nicer to the people that are on the roads around you, right? I mean, all these things, being more, just more intelligent, alert, present, capable, all these things, you can try and do it, but it isn't going to happen. It just isn't going to happen. I'll tell you what, the more pressure you put on yourself to try and improve yourself, and this is where sometimes self-help and personal development can be very frustrating. If you don't develop a strong gratitude practice, the harder you try and work on yourself, it's going to stress you out and it's going to beat you down. You're going to feel worse. As you do personal development, you're just going to become more and more aware of everything that's wrong with you, and that's going to stress you out even more. It starts and it ends with gratitude. That's why gratitude is number 2 episode of our Born to Prosper podcast here. So, but that gives me the space here to move on to this. And this is our gratitude checklist. Rach, you want to, do you have that up on your machine over there? Let's see if I can make it a little bit bigger over here. All right. So here's what we have. Can you read that? A little bit too small?
Are you talking to me?
Yeah.
Oh, goodness.
Well, everybody else can hear me, but nobody else can talk back to me, right?
Okay. So my computer's doing some funny things. I can see it on my screen now. So create a culture of gratitude. Easy. Am I on camera? Yeah, hi. This This is so crazy to be live and uncut. A lot of fun though. Talk about putting us on the spot. But anyways, number 1, openly practice gratitude with your friends, with your family, co-workers, as well as strangers. So how would you, Shane?
So,
would you just simply call them up and express your gratitude? Would you be writing little love notes?
you know, I'm not one to want to throw something in there that's completely out of context. You know, I tend to like to stay somewhat within some boundaries of some past context. Sometimes it's not possible. Sometimes you just got to make that call and say, you know what? I know this is out of left field, right? And I feel a little weird to have this conversation with you, but something's been coming up for me over and over again. I just want to share it with you, and this is what it is. And this can be with people that you've been having a rough time with for a long time. It can be with people that have been real close to you for a long time, but you just realize you've never really told them the way you really feel about them.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, I feel like the more you put yourself out there, the more you get out of it. I've been doing this for a long time on different levels. And quite frankly, my own personal results out of this could have been much quicker if I would have been a little braver and bolder, but courage is a byproduct of this. So, start where you can start making progress. But here's what we're talking about here. Openly practice gratitude. So you're in the job and the boss does something that's good. And you're like, hey man, I just want you to know, I appreciate that. The guy next to you is like, you're just, kissing up to the boss. And you just look at him and say, you know what? I appreciate your point of view. And I know why you're saying that. But you know what? I don't like living in a world where people can't express being grateful. And regardless of anything, past or present or future, that's a great thing. And I think what you give energy to is what grows. And if you want somebody to do something nice for you again, you better give them some appreciation for what they just did, even if they did it by accident, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, I watched it, or we both did. We watched a cool little thing on YouTube the other day.
Yeah, what's that video? I should have had the link for it on here.
It was by Soul Pancake. I think
we'll put the link in the blog post, which will be up in a couple of days. There'll be a link to this on there, so come back and check that out.
But it was a little science experiment. The guy that was there with his cloak on, he's like, believe me, I'm a scientist, or I've got a cloak on, or whatever. It was pretty funny.
You can trust me. I'm wearing a white lab coat.
That was it.
That's a subliminal trigger. And all the drug company advertising and a lot of other advertising, they hit you with the white lab coat, right?
So they were being a little bit humorous with it all. But the experiment that they did, they had people come in and write out a little letter to a person in their life who had impacted them and who they were extremely grateful for. And there was this one gal who wrote the little letter for her sister and just expressing, I love you, I love how you do this for me, I love how you do that for me, I'm grateful for this, I'm grateful for that. And they're really like, they're little soul sisters, but they're real sisters as well. Anyways, after they'd done this exercise, there was a guy who did it for his mom and another girl who did it for another girlfriend of hers who was overseas. They then had them call them up and read the letters, and it was so cool. Like the emotion and the outpouring of love from this exercise was off the charts awesome. So it's inspired me. I'm not going to read the letter out to what I was talking about earlier because anyway, that's a whole other story. But there's definitely some people in my life who I'd like to write some, gratitude notes for, but then call them up and put myself out there and read it. So yeah, anyway.
That's right. And this is all down to changing a big habit. I mean, you create that habit and you build it into all, and here's a big one. Email. Practice gratitude in your email. When you're writing somebody an email to let them know about something, start out with, hi, how you doing? Thank you for this. Segue into the next section, which is, by the way, I need to get this little thing handled here. Can you help me with that? And then end it by saying, you know what, have a, wishing you a great day, right? Like positive. We get so efficient in our communication and you get these emails from people and it's like, and I probably send them too, right?
Yeah.
Maybe. But you get these emails from these people and you're like, man, is this person angry at me? And you call them up and they're like, hey, how you doing?
Yeah, it's just they're at the
and
time,
you're like,
they're in a hurry.
Hey, how you doing me? But that email you just sent seemed very angry. So you got to take extra care in your written communication to demonstrate a little bit of gratitude for that person being in your life. Just think about this. If you don't treat that person properly, they might leave. Whether they're friend, family, coworker, whatever, your life might be a little bit more difficult if they're not there, or they just might start kind of working against you a little bit. So adding that to your to your written communication is very, very important. I can't stress that enough. So so just practicing gratitude around people. You start to create a culture of gratitude. Once you start saying thank you and please and well done, guess what? The people around you will start doing it too, because every time somebody does that, you feel like a unappreciative jerk if you don't do it. I mean, you can almost force uh, a positive vibe in any group of people just with some gratitude. And some people aren't going to appreciate or like the gratitude thing, but you know what? They don't have to play along if they don't want to. But
And so long as
it'll definitely. Sorry.
so long as it's coming from your heart and it's authentic, then for the most part, it's going to be well received.
Well, that's the key for sure.
Yeah.
So
Number 2 is be prepared to receive
that's
gratitude.
right. Be prepared to receive gratitude, because guess what? It's going to come back to you. Now, what do I mean by that? People used to give me gratitude, and I'm like, oh, no, it was nothing. And I would defend it off. It's like, don't give me any of that. I don't even know how to handle it. What do you do with this stuff? You're appreciative. Nobody's ever, I mean, me and my boys, guys I grew up with, we're not slapping each other in the back. We're slapping each other upside the head, right?
Yeah.
And I just didn't even know how to handle. So some of us have to actually figure out in advance, okay, if somebody says thank you, I'm going to say, you're welcome. That's it.
It's a little bit like if someone was to give you a gift. Oh, you shouldn't have got me this. And it's like, right. And that just invalidates the one giving the gift, right?
Maybe one you shouldn't have.
Yeah.
Maybe one you shouldn't. Oh, you shouldn't have. Oh, but I really wanted to. What do you say next?
I really appreciate it. I'm so, you know what? I've always wanted this. I'm so excited. Thank you.
Or you don't, or you just thank you.
Yeah.
If you didn't always want it, I'm a big believer in sincerity, right?
Sure. It's got to come from your heart.
Yeah. So wow, thank you. Wow. Thank you for thinking of me. I just typically say whatever actually is coming into my mind in the moment, because I'm still pleasantly impressed when somebody pays me a little bit of gratitude, even though I get it all the time. But that's the benefit. It's easy for me to have gratitude for other people's gratitude. I'm leaving you on camera there.
I know.
Are you grateful that I took you off camera?
Yeah.
It's easy for me to have a lot of ongoing gratitude for people's gratitude, because I didn't get much of it at a young age. And it's still such a foreign thing to me that, I should be grateful that I didn't get it at a young age, because it just means so much to me every day now. So be prepared to receive gratitude. What are you laughing at?
I'm just laughing at us, really. I think we're doing a great job.
So what's the next one?
And it's just funny with the controls going back and forth, and I don't know. I can't see. I haven't got my glasses on.
So the next one is
encourage others to share their gratitude. Now this could come off the wrong way.
I'm not talking about put a guilt trip on them.
Yeah, okay.
I'm not even talking about telling them to do it. I'm definitely not talking about telling them to do it, right?
All right.
I'm saying one way to encourage others to do it is just to be the demonstration of it yourself. But another way to encourage other people to do it is say, hey, Rach, did you notice what a great job Joe did on X? Mm-hmm. You're like, yeah, I did. I did notice that. Yeah, cool, huh? Yeah. That's it. That's all right? And you might go, wow, maybe I should send him an email. That'd be a great idea.
Right.
Or maybe that's just where it ends. Subtlety works the best, because you don't want to be here. Let me give you guys an inside thing here. There can be really negative people that decide that they're going to be the gratitude police. You don't want to be the gratitude police. You don't want to be the gratitude enforcer. That kind of it kind of takes the rug out from under and the positive benefits of gratitude with that. So you don't want to be the gratitude police. It's like Gandhi says, be the change you want to see in the world. And you know what? Let everybody else get in where they're going to fit in. But in your bubble of reality, it'll be very difficult for people to, not demonstrate some of this stuff, right? Does that make sense, Rach?
Makes a lot of sense.
All right. So with that, I'm pretty much at the end of what I have to talk about here. Rach, anything else that you want to put a bow on?
Well, I'm grateful that you guys have tuned in with us today as we've had this great discussion. I'm grateful for you, Shane, that you came back and didn't leave me sitting out here on my own. And as we have the Easter weekend, just be safe and have a lot of fun. And if you're tuning into this later and Easter's over, then that's okay. Come back. We're going to be doing these shows every Friday 4:30 New York time, and every Saturday morning for those down under, 7:30 a.m. Sydney time. And yeah, we do hope you tune back in to see us.
All right. Well, with that, gang, this episode is a wrap. I really want to thank you guys for your attention, your appreciation. And you know what? We are just going to keep building this and building this. We've got a lot of cool stuff we're going to build in to each one of these episodes, things that you guys won't believe, you won't expect. We're going to bring the outside world in. We're traveling the world. Right now, we're traveling around South America. We're based in Chile. And we're going to show you guys around some interesting things. But one step at a time, we're going to master our technology here first before we try and get too creative. So stay tuned and keep checking in. We're going to give you guys some great information, but we want to show you guys things that you may never have seen before, parts of the world you may never have seen before. But we also want to show you guys, I guess, what you can create if you really embrace some of these principles. Our lives has transformed a lot, and the way I transformed my life really was by getting to know somebody who was living by some of these principles and just modeling them. But I would never have modeled them if I wouldn't have seen what was really possible. So with that, I definitely want to share with you guys some of what's really possible there. And our next episode coming up, our next episode is how to be
happy.
How to be happy. And you know what? If you guys are dialing in, you guys are tuning in to what we're talking about here, especially with the brain science behind it, happiness can be a massive ally. And I'm not talking about being so content that you never want to get out of bed. I'm talking about being motivated on purpose, some intensity going on, some joy, some fun, and a lot of happiness going on at the same time. So that's what's coming up next year. And with that, this is a wrap. Thanks, everybody.